Welcome to the very, very, very strongest One Piece podcast. I am your host, Captain Bill, along with my nakama on this voyage through the Grand Line. We got Lou and Justin with me. Woo! And every week we go through the legendary anime manga series One Piece at a time. This week we are covering episodes 38 through 45, the second half of the Arlong Park Arc. And before we get into this, I got a lot of things to cover.
Yeah? What you got going on?
Y'all saw that Chainsaw Man trailer. Chainsaw Man getting an anime. It looks great. I'm really excited about this. Chainsaw Man, I read the manga earlier in the year. I marathoned it all in like a week. And most fun I've had reading a new manga in years. I was super excited. The style is super cool. It's super fun. I like all the characters. Some of the character relationships are really kind of fun and interesting. And man, I'm just super excited for this anime. I think this anime, this is going to be as big as One Punch Man was when it came out. This is going to be maybe bigger. This is going to be one of those animes that I think goes straight into everyone's like top 5. I think it's really going to be big.
You know, I believe it too, because based off the trailer, like just the music in it, I was getting so amped on it.
This studio has done a lot of good work. Yeah.
It just sounds like a 80s horror film like title.
There was one in the 80s called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, true, yeah. Yeah, except this guy's an actual chainsaw man.
Like the Fishmen are? I haven't seen the trailer.
I don't know. I haven't read the manga yet.
Paint me a picture, Bill, with your words.
Okay, so the series starts off with this kid who's in debt to I think he's in debt to the mafia, but he has this little dog with him who's like a goofy little like plushy looking dog with like a chainsaw instead of a nose. And come to find out that that's the chainsaw demon. And there's like demons in this story, and basically the more powerful sounding the name is, the more powerful the demon is. And so this kid is friends with the chainsaw demon, and he at some point, I don't want to give too much away, but like fuses with the chainsaw demon, and he becomes like the Chainsaw Man. Which, that premise sounds horrible. Mm-hmm. I would have never picked this up, but I had so much fun with this series. I couldn't put it down once I picked it up, and I think it ended around chapter 90, and it was like ending when I picked it up. It was at like the last 2 chapters, and so I got to read the last chapter as it came out because I caught up right before then. And in that last chapter, nice. There's a big announcement: we're gonna have an anime for this.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm glad that's And when you were talking about like the idea behind it, first of all I thought you were very rude when you said that sounds like a dumb premise, because that's the premise to Friday the 13th Part 7, when Tommy becomes Jason and gets inhabited by Jason. Also,
first of all, that sounds like a horrible fan fiction.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
That's what happens.
No, that's good. Disrespect Tommy like that? Come on.
No, dude, Tommy lived long enough to become the villain.
Fucking disrespect Tommy. No, I'm sorry.
Dude, no, you're in the wrong. Bill, you're in the wrong. Like, Tommy was destined to become Jason.
He was destined to become his own demon.
What was the one we watched? One of the Friday the 13th.
Jason
Freddy
Goes to Manhattan. Yeah, Freddy.
No, we saw that. No, what was the one where where the kid he mangled his own head? He's like, "Look, Jason, look," and like it made Jason stop killing.
Yeah, that was
which one I'm talking about.
That's the first one with Tommy. It's either 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Tommy. A great one.
Tommy doesn't turn into Jason until I think 7 or 8. I forgot. No, Jason Takes Manhattan is 8. Yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan is 8. So it had to have been 7.
So, you're telling me that 8? You're telling me that 8 in Manhattan? That's Jason.
Tommy.
That's Tommy.
That's Tommy.
That's why that one sucks so bad. Dude. First of all, have you seen that the one where he goes to New York?
Chainsaw Man now. All right. Thanks to what you just said. and I will
That's
give
fine.
it a
I'm gonna watch.
thumbs
I'm gonna enjoy
on when
so
we
much.
rate it.
Yeah, you
Very,
You know,
know.
very just on podcast without Justin. I'm still on the show, but I'm just silent the whole time, and I just feel. Psh.
Yeah.
yeah, you just hear scoffs every now and then from Justin's end.
Eat potato chips on purpose on the show.
right,
All
but-
that crumpling.
There's more. There's more to say here because
Okay.
not only did we get the Chainsaw Man trailer, we got a new clip of the Uzumaki anime, which is going to be the animated version of Junji Ito's masterpiece Uzumaki.
Yeah.
Which they've been
I
working on this
saw
one
that.
for years. They've been working on this for a while, and the last time they animated some of Junji Ito's stuff was, I think, 2018, and that was not so good.
That was atrocious.
It just didn't capture Junji Ito's illustration style, which is half of like what Junji Ito is his amazing illustrations, and it's like didn't capture that. And so much of Junji Ito when you're reading that work is about the page turn, and that anime didn't really do justice to either of those things. But it did have I really like the outro song for that anime. But
sometimes an outro song will save an anime just by itself, or
that's absolutely
an intro.
true. That's 100% true. I watched all of Chobits. Chobits, not a good anime, but that opening theme song, legendary banger. That song is amazing.
Gets you hyped just for the
Let me
letdown.
be with you. No, I would finish an episode and be like, okay, I'm gonna drop the series right now, but I am gonna put on the next episode just so I can hear that theme song, and then I just end up watching the next episode
because it's playing already. It's already playing.
Yeah, I'm already locked in. I might as well.
Yeah, what's another 30 minutes until you get to hear the intro again, you know?
It's not 30 minutes. It's because it's like, with the credits, not the commercial. It's, it's like we talk with One Piece. It's like
22 minutes.
20 minutes tops.
That's fair. Hey, you know what anime I watched this week that I was so hyped to watch because people have been talking about that it's a pretty good one? Gangsta. I've had a few friends who are into anime who mentioned Gangsta, and then I even saw some reviews, well, like partial reviews, because I don't like going into things with like watching a trailer or like spoilers or anything like that. So, yeah, I've heard a few times Gangsta. You got to watch Gangsta; it's so good. And I watched it, and I was like at the last episode, and I'm like, this is fucking terrible. I just turned it off.
In the last episode, yeah.
Did yeah, I didn't finish the first season. Like I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but like a lot of the show, the characters aren't really that cool, and the flashback sequences are like I feel like that's where I was really intrigued, but like most of it's pretty bad, and like the thing that they do that's like over the top that I'm not so much of a fan of in anime, except for one, which Bill's probably gonna shit on me for. But Gangsta was like super pervy, like really pervy. And the only show that I've watched, the anime show that I watched that I thought it worked was Golden Boy, which is like this. It's like Justin, you would love Golden Boy.
Why would you say like, oh, pervy? Justin loved that.
No, because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. The way Golden Boy,
the guy. Oh my god.
Wait, hold on. The way Golden Boy does pervy is like it's self-aware of it, and like they make fun of it, and the show itself is comedic. So like in some way it works, and pretty much at the end of every episode, the woman that he's been pervy about is like she falls in love with him, like realizes he's like this golden boy and like needs him in their life or whatever. But it's a dumb gimmick, but it works and it's funny. Gangsta is supposed to be a serious anime.
I'm gonna interject right here because Blue is leaving out the part where Golden Boy in pretty much every episode he like is licking toilets and stuff and like putting his face in toilet bowls because the women that he like took the piss or something on the toilet.
Yeah, and then
that's why you said I like it. No.
Yeah, it's right up your alley. But like the women like punch him in the face and all this stuff. Like he always gets his, Like there's always some repercussion for him being a total pervy idiot. Gangsta,
where
you mean
he
a
becomes this, like,
sexual predator. You don't mean an idiot.
yes,
You mean a sexual
yes,
predator.
yes, absolutely. But like in Gangsta, you have these two main characters that are like supposed to be in their mid 30s that like live together and like they're like detectives together and all this shit. But all over their apartment are like these fucking hentai posters of like women doing the most obscene shit. And I'm like, is this supposed to make me think they're cool? Like, because they're not. This is fucking gross. And every character they come across, like it's like overly sexualized. I don't know. That's
I'm
my two
glad you.
cents. My
I'm
hot
glad you
take.
found a new role model, Lewis. I'm glad you found
Moral
a
of the
new person
story
to
is
look up
watch
to.
Golden Boy. 6 episodes of Golden Boy. They're ridiculous.
Most of you won't make it past the first episode of Golden Boy because most of those
That's
episodes
not true.
are really bad. That whole series is really bad. But I do like that one scene where he goes swimming and he's like drowning the whole time, but he makes it to the other end of the pool and he's like, "How'd you like my swimming?"
Yeah, he's like a handsome, clean cut, like anime man.
Yeah, he did like a yeah, he was like drowning, like flailing the whole way there, and then he like turns around, he like looks all handsome and shit. I also
It's worth a
finished watching Jujutsu Kaisen.
watch. How'd
Uh,
you dig it?
Jujutsu Kaisen as a story, just like it is shonen dot story. This is about a shonen basic run of the mill story as you can get, I think. But I think those characters are fun. Those fights are really fun. It's a fun ride. I mean, the story isn't going to blow you away. It's not going to do anything for you, but those fights are really fun. Uh, I keep saying the fights are fun. Let me give you an example.
When does Batman show up?
So these people are all. There's no
First of all,
Batman in
this
this one,
is.
but there is a guy
Oh
with a
my
volcano
gosh,
head.
Bill, you were just rubbing me the wrong way. Like this whole. It's at first I've been trying. I was this whole time I've been silent trying to cool down what you said about Tommy, but it's like, and then you give me this other nonsense that Batman's not in it, but you say it has cool fights.
What's a cool fight without a bat?
Without Batman. I got Batman all the time in One Piece.
All right, so Jujutsu Kaisen, there are these sorcerers. They're basically trying to dispel curses, which like manifest into like these monsters. And so they all have. It's basically like this is basically like Naruto or Yu Yu Hakusho in a lot of ways. It's you've seen this story before.
You got your
One,
mana.
yeah.
You got
One of
your.
the things I really liked is the fights are just super fun. So one of the fights, the character, she's got a revolver. So the character fighting against her is like, okay, she has 6 shots and she has to reload. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run around, try to dodge these 6 bullets, and then I'm gonna go in for my hits. Using my sorcerer power, whatever. Well, the character with the revolver, her ability is that she can make a little bit of matter, which she uses to make a bullet. So what her power is that she bluffs that she has 6 bullets in the revolver, but she can manifest a 7th bullet, which I thought was like really clever and super cool. So that's one that I really
I'm
like.
sorry.
What, you didn't like that?
They have automatic pistols that can carry like 18 bullets.
Yeah, but it's about
But that
the
never
bluff.
matters anyways because it's because they have infinity bullets. We all know that they never reload it.
Well, no, I mean, but it sounds like she's got the 6 bullets and like one gun, but like her bluff is that she can make like a 7th in the chamber, right? After it's like empty.
Exactly, yeah. So they think she's going to reload, but she can fire the 7th bullet, which is like the clutch, like bluff, right?
Mm.
Another character, and I thought this was typical anime bullshit at the beginning, is this character only speaks in sushi. So, and in sushi ingredients. So anytime they talk to this character, he just responds like kelp or, yeah, I don't know, like whatever. It's talking about onigiri, like talking about sushi. Well, it's because this character has cursed speech, and when he actually speaks to you in a way you can understand, you do whatever he says. And there was a lot of really cool moments where they played with that. And so I don't know. I thought it was a fun series. Didn't blow me away, but I thought it was solid. I'll be watching the next season when it comes out. I don't know if it lived up to the hype per se, but there was maybe just a little too much hype around it. I think ultimately it was a really good series. Now, a series that I also finished earlier today that super did not live up to the hype, and we might lose a follower or two for saying this, but Attack on Titan, the ending is trash. That is a horrible ending to this series. I just read the last chapter of the manga earlier today. Have you guys seen any Attack on Titan?
I've
Just season
seen a
1, but
little
I
bit.
don't remember it. It didn't last. It didn't leave a lasting impression on me. Which this is something been talking about recently about like how I want to rewatch it because everybody like talks about like season 1 so good, season 2 is like but you gotta like it could be better, but it's also kind of good, and then yeah, now with this like how on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you think the ending is?
All right.
And being the
Let's
worst.
say- Here's what I'm going to say
being
about
the
Attack
worst.
on Titan. No, let me go on a short rant about Attack on Titan here. I think this series is overall pretty good, and this is actually maybe something I wanted to ask you guys. How much do you think the ending of a series dictates the quality of the series?
It's kind of in my opinion, I think it's a good portion, but at the same time, right? You've got like the first thing that's coming to mind for me is like you've got Berserk, which is a series that is now probably may not ever be finished due to obvious reasons, but like I would still highly recommend it and I would tell somebody to watch it. And like especially if they had the mindset like, well, it's not really going to have an ending. It's like it doesn't matter. Like it's so good that it's worth that, you know? Like if Attack on Titan is that level where the story is really good, the ending might be a flop, but it's still good. I'd still give it a go.
So this actually is I like that question a lot. There's the I in short I agree with Lewis is that I will take the most killer story imaginable if the ending is utterly trash, if at that moment they are writing the best thing that they could write. Like, like the best thing. If they can't find a way out of it to like end it, that's like, that sucks. But it is like, I will take that every single time because I I would go to something like Twin Peaks, which is like one of my favorite shows
Wow,
like
really?
ever. Yeah.
Oh.
And that season 2 ending, which was a cancellation, it was just done. And it was even the way it ended lent new creativity to like the show and it becoming then 20 years later returning and becoming a whole new show that made just as much sense as the first 2 seasons did, but it's one of the most wild things. The next thing I would think of is something called, or not something called, Lost. Was like
My example.
when Lost was on television and when it was firing on all cylinders, it was the best thing on TV. It did not matter what was actually like, why you had pushed the button like every 108 minutes or whatever. It did not matter why when you pulled like, when you pushed an oar like underneath the island would disappear and it would just be somewhere else. There was never going to be there was never going to be a real explanation that was actually gonna be satisfying.
They
But
opened up too many mysteries, yeah.
yeah, but the mysteries were all awesome mysteries, and that's what like everybody knows that once you know who it's like you get one twist. Like if it's a good ending and it wraps it up nicely, it's nice. But I take those freaking twists every single like day of the week because especially with the kind of the culture we live in now, where everything's like so binge, like binge made. You miss that fucking awesome cliffhanger. like you talked about the page turn before, like just when you get to the end of a chapter of something, or me with comics, get to the end of a comic and it's just like some awesome reveal. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? And then there's nothing that like gets me like in my gut more than that. So I'll take that over, like the like them knowing how they're gonna end it ahead of time. So another actually really good example is of it actually working out for them was Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad. What's his name? Vince Gilligan.
Walter White? Oh.
No. No, Vince Gilligan, his writer's room, what they would actually do is they would write themselves into a corner for episodes. So, like, if it was me, Lewis, and Bill, I would write an episode and I would leave it a cliffhanger where I didn't know how person A was going to get out of this position. And then everybody would discuss, and they would, because, like, it was basically like a writing exercise, how to get that person out in a compelling way.
It's awesome.
And they were able to stick that landing super well. And they were lucky, like, because, but at the same time, they could have not been lucky, like, or like not given themselves enough wiggle room, because that's like, kind of the idea of how you want to balance that sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I do that in life all the time, and just like write myself into a corner, and I'm like, how am I going to get out of this one? And I don't. So it's like super impressive to like actually know that, though, because like in all honesty, or like reality of the situation, that is really impressive, and it kind of shows, because that's like one of those shows was like just blew me away too. Breaking Bad was phenomenal. Like I hadn't seen something like that in a long time.
Yeah. No, that was one of the. I read this book about the 6 worst writers' rooms to be in, like for television. And it was like The Sopranos and Mad Men, and they had like a whole bunch. But then, like as a final chapter, they did the happiest writers' room, and it was for Breaking Bad. It's because
all drugs, man. They had all that coke.
They doing meth and trying to figure out how to, make a showstopper.
Exactly. Like they've talked about how like collaborative was that way, and that's probably why they all signed back. Like they all did Better Call Saul, because Better Call Saul is a really good show too, and it's not like it's a huge ratings juggernaut or anything like that. But those people love writing for that show because they love that exercise, like that sort of thing. That's why I always thought it'd be fun to write for a soap opera. Like
you have said that since like high school.
Oh my
I remember you've always talked about
the entire world.
So here's where we
could have worked with
Attack on Titan for a minute. So Attack on Titan. This was a huge thing in like, what was it, like 2012 or something, when people started watching Attack on Titan. And I remember coming back to Florida, like after I moved to New York, and everyone was talking about, oh, you haven't seen Attack on Titan? Oh my God, Attack on Titan. So I go back and I watched the first season, which was out, and I was impressed with it. It was good. I thought it was really good. I watched it all in like 2 or 3 days. I mean, I liked it. And then when the second season came out, I didn't like it so much. The second season dealt with all these. Okay, here's my thing with Attack on Titan from the jump, even from the first season, which I did like. I don't love a single character in Attack on Titan. There's not a single lovable character, in my opinion. Yeah, Levi is cool. There's the girl who eats all the potatoes. She's pretty funny, but like other than that, none of those characters do anything for me. That main character sure as hell doesn't do anything for me. And then the second season like dealt with almost exclusively with these minor characters, and I just kind of fell off at that point. Until last year, I started seeing the whole anime community is like, okay, oh my God, Attack on Titan chapter 100, whatever.
this is the best, like a candidate for the best manga of all time now. This is like top 5 animes of all time or mangas of all time. I'm like, okay. I could see how it could get to that point from where I wouldn't agree with that from what I saw, but I was like, I can see how it could become something amazing. Like clearly there was some amazing twist or something.
Or people like, they're the momentum. Like sometimes like riding momentum of something that you really like it if you weren't living through if you weren't living through it, as I don't have a better way to say it, it doesn't it doesn't mean as much to you when it like ends and then you're like, oh, but this was like, this, and it comes back to what this person said or what this person did, and that like it means, it connects with people differently. And sometimes it's just different strokes for different folks.
Well, that's the thing is, first of all, love whatever series you love, go for it. I mean, if you love Attack on Titan, I'm really happy.
Love, love. Remember,
here's
Pride Month.
My diagnosis of how Attack on Titan goes, because I after I heard that a couple months later, I started just reading the manga from the very first chapter again, even though I had watched all those anime episodes. I was like, I just didn't want to. I knew that a big twist happened, and I didn't want the twist to not hit me hard because I had watched it so long ago. So I started from chapter 1 again. And I read all the way up to the current chapter, which I think was like 120 or 130 something. And Attack on Titan builds this really great world. And you start getting those mysteries to unfold a little bit, and they're pretty cool. And then you go into like 50 bullshit ass chapters of political intrigue that is not that intriguing. Like they really want you to be interested in like the church and state politics. They're not that interesting in my opinion.
And that does suck because I love that stuff. We both know I love.
You're that guy.
I mean, maybe you would like that part, but for me, I was just like, oh my god, it was just dragging. But, and here's the big but, is the twist they pull off is amazing, and it is really, really good, and it's well written. And I was reading at Lee's place, so like every few minutes she's hearing me go, holy shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, this series is finally doing something now. Like we're in it. And I was like, okay, I can see how from here this becomes like a legendary series. And they don't stick the landing. Like what ends up happening is, without really making, without giving too many spoilers, like I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, is one of the characters. Okay, so basically the Titans end up on some level. You think it's like this horror manga, but it
oh no.
I'm
afraid you're gonna like spoil it.
It becomes almost like a Gundam, like mech manga on some level, like the way they start dealing with these
Titans.
With the Titans. Yeah, it's almost like a flesh and blood mech. And so it really starts to change the way you see the series. It's like obviously they're still terrifying on some level, but it's like also just more like a flesh and blood mech. And this is what really fucks up the ending, is one of the characters more or less becomes like Dr. Manhattan. Like they can perceive all time at once. And you can already see how a lot of series cannot portray that well.
Some can so well. Dr. Manhattan's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like they capped it off there.
All of the love to Dr. Manhattan in that series is amazing. And that HBO series is some of the best TV of all time.
It's the best. It's one of the best. I couldn't believe how much I loved that adaptation of the comic, and all the comics that are coming out right now. If anybody is like on the fence, that is like going to a comic book shop and they're seeing all this new Watchmen stuff, some of it is bogus, but some of it is so biting. And
I didn't even know they were making more.
Oh yeah, no, they cracked the door open. They straight up entered the DC the DCU. So like since 2012, they had something called the New 52, where DC rebooted every single series, starting it at number 1, and they were trying to build like a cohesive continuity within the entire DC universe. Did not work. A lot of like series, some were great, some weren't that great. Like, um, it didn't do well. And they had a one shot just come out randomly called DC Rebirth, and it was about the Flash. And specifically, it was about a character that when they did New 52 didn't come back, Wally West, the second Flash. And it starts with Wally West coming back, and he remembers everything. And it's this whole big mystery, but then it ends with in the Batcave, and he picks a button, and it's the comedian's button. And it has a blood spot on it. And you're like,
Oh,
what the fuck?
a fucking crazy crossover.
Well, I mean, and
Are they in the same universe?
yeah, well, they've never been in the same universe. I mean, DC's always was the publisher for Watchmen, or Vertigo, but you understood that Dr. Manhattan was the one that created it. Like, that whole continuity that basically everybody didn't like, they basically wrote it into being like part of the whole thing.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was very good. And now since they had a whole bunch of new series, yeah, no, it's really good. Watch them, great.
Well, I'd like to take this as a transition into One Piece. And the only reason why I want to do it here is talking about, something where we're on the subject of something that might have a bad ending. I'm not saying One Piece does. I'm saying it's a show that hasn't ended yet, so it's still in our wheelhouse of
about Attack on Titan before we moved on, but
really.
You wanted okay.
oh well, just because the ending was so bad,
I was reading it to Lee and I could stop laughing out loud. So
at some of the dialogue. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I have something wrong. I'll watch some analysis videos. I watched this one video that made me laugh so hard. This is the last thing I want to say on Attack on Titan. I watched this video. It was an 8-minute long analysis of the last chapter. The first full minute is just the guy laughing. Like, he doesn't say anything. He just full on laughs for the first full minute of the video.
God damn. Well, would you say, okay, so now that we've talked about like Attack on Titan and it has a laughably bad ending that this guy is apparently saying, would you say it's worth watching, even though you know the ending is probably bad?
I say if you're not into it after the first season, don't watch the rest. But if you like that first season and those mysteries seem interesting to you, I think it's worth watching. I still think it's a good series. I think when people put it in like their top 5, that's too much for me. But I think could be a top 50 to top 25 series. I don't want to disrespect Attack on Titan. I think the things that it does do really well. Those things are particularly the world building and the setting up of mysteries on some of those mysteries, paying off those mysteries. But the characters, not my favorite, and they really futz with a lot of things and kind of lower the impact of certain things with the way they chose to end the series. But I'll cap it off
fair.
there.
It's definitely one of the most influential animes of the last 10 years. 20, I guess.
That's the one that's popped recently. Like you said, yeah, within the last 5-10 years. But since we've gone 40 something minutes without talking about the One Piece. So let's make a very hard and not smooth transition into the second part of the Arlong Park arc. So where do we want to start?
I just want to start by saying, now that we've completed the Arlong Park arc, I want to say that this was the arc that made One Piece good to great. I feel like this was such a beautiful arc in total. But I mean, like just the fact that we did leave off on a cliffhanger of Luffy looking for Arlong and now getting straight into, I mean, like you made Big Sis Nami cry. Like, what more do you need than that?
Yeah. Having watched it, this is being my first time watching it, I could say that yes, this is where I could say I have no complaints about any single part of this arc, and like like going forward, or at least this so far, there's nothing that I could say is a yes but piece, because I think every single character, though this back half was super strong. I think that we had some great awesome bites with each of the characters, like utilizing what makes them awesome. I think Usopp was like, when I was surprised how he might have been my favorite fight the whole series.
Ooh, yeah, you liked his
arc.
comeuppance?
Yeah,
Liked his comeuppance?
I liked it a lot. I liked his style. I like his moves.
That Usopp hammer gets you, man.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, and we'll get to that later. But I would say that this was a very, very solid arc, and yeah, so far this is my favorite arc of the series.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I really think this is that arc. And I think when you're trying to sell someone on One Piece saying like, "Oh, watch till like episode 45," it seems like a big commitment to be like, "Oh," but I think if you don't see the arcs before this doesn't pay off quite as hard. Like you wouldn't have like the context of like who Nami is as a character and why you just get all this insight as to who she was and why she did everything that she did up to that point. And this arc just pays off on so many things. In particular, I know one of the complaints that you had of the previous arc, the Baratier, is just the insertion of random characters like Pearl when he comes out, and just the random Don Krieg like named villains that just show up. Whereas all the main three goons in this all have sufficient portrayal, I think. And then when you see them matched up against the Straw Hats, get matched up with, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, okay, so we have a swordsman, octopus, like that goes against Zoro. Like that makes sense. Swordsman versus swordsman. So, and you can see how these kind of pairings work out. And that's one of the satisfying things about a lot of these arcs is like seeing, oh, like which of the crewmates do I think are going to go against the other crewmates? And that's kind of a fun like pairing thing that you can get into theorizing as a new arc starts. And this also shows that he can pay off like a slightly longer plot line with like setting up who Nami is as a character and then delivering on like what her backstory is.
Yeah, and I think it's much cleaner than I would say the last arc too. Well, the Hawkeye Mihawk thing being right in the middle. This was, I feel like it was much cleaner. The villain was like, the villain the entire way through. He's a complete piece of shit. He's all in the same, he's super intimidating as far as in several ways. Like, the threat is there, and it leaves you, really like rooting for our guys. Wish Octopus Man live forever, but just, I guess you can't have everything you want.
It's cool. It's cool too seeing like coming off of like the Hawkeye Mihawk fight too. Like Zoro is essentially, this is the first time we've seen him really lose since he was a kid, and him versing Hachi, he's like extremely wounded, and there's like this fight that's going on internally with him where you're just like you're watching him pretty much agree to himself like, I will not lose again, and like he just keeps pushing through it, and like you see this growing point for him, and you see like the growing point in Usopp You know, realizing that he's being a coward and like coming back like 10 times harder. Sanji, I don't really know if I saw something going on with him other than I think he's a madman for not wearing socks. He wears dress shoes without socks. It's fucking scary. He's probably the scariest one out of all of them.
Yeah, Sanji's so cool. Did Sanji have the cigarette in his mouth when he was swimming?
Pretty sure he always has.
Yeah,
He always has it.
Most likely.
It's never not. And he still tries to light. He still tries lighting it when he gets out.
Do you even have what's his name? Yeah, he did try to light it, but everything's too wet. And you got Johnny and what's his name? Yusaka? Is that his name?
Yozaku.
Yozaku. Yeah, like these two guys who I was like, I don't know if they're actually doing anything to the story, but then like you see them crying when they're hearing about Nami's story, and then the next time you see them, like they tried to fucking take down Arlong on their own just because. I'm like, hell yeah! Like so many growing points for all of these characters, even the ones that you could consider like beeline characters, you know?
Well, I wanted to touch back on what you were saying about Zoro being damaged in this arc, and that was something that first time watch really impacted me. That like this isn't the kind of series where if a character is extremely damaged, it's just gone by the next arc. Like this damage carries over if it's something extreme.
Yeah, no, and I think it works in the context of it being because it's Hawkeye Mihawk. But it is 3 days later when he is fully healed. When they're leaving at the end of the arc, he is.
Look, he's a strong dude.
His shirt isn't off, but he's back into his old his outfit. He is fit as
That's because he got the proper stitching. He got the proper stitching after.
So 3 days, you're fine.
Yeah. The doctor looked at him and he's like, what are you doing? He's like stapled his own like wound shut, you know? If you're Zoro, 3 days, that's nothing. It's just like 3 sword style, man. One for each sword.
I'm not gonna quibble about it as far as this. It was just it was a little humorous. Because out of all the things there, you know, people drop kicking boulders in the middle of the water. You could say get the hell out of here all day. But that's not the that only, I think what it does is it makes Hawkeye Mihawk that much more threatening. That it was that bad. Yeah. But do we want to go, since this arc is mostly all fights, do you want to just do fight for fight? Like, you know,
do you guys want to try chronological order? Do you guys want to talk about your favorite fights?
I want to do fights because I think that'd be easier to go
we
over
can
that
do chronological,
way. Yeah.
So obviously the first we get is Zoro versus Hachi.
Ooh, I love Hachi. I think Hachi's a fantastic character.
Yeah, Hachi, that's what I was saying. I was like, I wish Hachi, they like flipped him. He was a good guy.
Yeah, just keep him around.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Like some of the lines too, where he's like, just like in the middle of a fight, and he's like, "Oh, you tricked me! You're Zoro, the swordsman." It's like they've already known for like a whole episode.
Yeah, Arlong, your crew. You gotta get them together. Get them together. Be a good captain.
Yeah, I really love the Hachi line too, where he's like, "You cut my hair. I'm gonna forgive you because it grows back."
Yeah. Such a good gag.
So good.
I love the 8 sword style versus the 4. 8 is obviously better than 3.
6, right?
The 6. Yeah, the 6 sword
6,
style.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 6 versus 3 is 6. Obviously better.
Zoro going into like, you know, the weight of what these swords mean, and like you as a viewer are like, oh my god, this is so heavy, and then Hachi's like, I get it, your swords are weighted, mine are lighter, but it doesn't mean anything. So many good gags. Hachi, 10 out of 10. I was gonna say he might be my very, very of this week's episode. My very, very, very favorite character of this arc. Definitely goes to Hachi.
Okay. No,
6 hands down.
No,
6
hands down.
6 hands up.
6 thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome
I would say if we're going very, 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 very best characters, I'm gonna give it to Usopp, and we'll do that when we go for the Usopp fight. But
Yeah, I can't wait to hear your opinion on it.
yeah, it's the only thing. Only other thing I want to talk about with the Zoro fight was that it gave me Princess Bride vibes. Have you guys ever seen Princess Bride?
Yeah,
It's- Hmm?
I can't even remember the line right now. Where he's like, "You killed my father."
Oh no! I'm thinking of when the main character's name is Wesley, and the villain is he's going to capture the princess or whatever, and Wesley has been injured like to the point where he died and he got brought back to life, and he's laying on the bed and he's telling him not to come any closer because he'll kill him. And the villain's like, "No, you're too weak. You have no strength left. You don't even have strength to stand up." And he goes, "Perhaps you're right. Perhaps perhaps you're 100% right." And I'm butchering all this, but and then he stands up and he says, "But maybe not." And then all of a sudden, because he specifically said, "You don't have enough strength to stand," and you're like, "Oh shit!" And the guy leaves, and then he's like, "Well, I can't move right now." Like that's the only strength he had. But Zoro's the opposite. That he's like, "No, I'm gonna even push past that." Yeah, no,
It really gives you like the portrayal too of like the power of Zoro and like his will specifically, you know, because there were a lot of moments during his fight and throughout too where you're like, is this really enough? Like, or is this it for like Zoro? Like, he's just got to push. It's like I feel like every time we see him, it's just like I just got to do this one last thing. I just got to do this one last thing, you know. Like it was like take out Hachi. It's like gotta save Luffy, and then it's like gotta stall time for the Love Cook. It was
I think
always just him pushing further and further.
I think that's what makes it interesting because like as a fight, it's not like super like compelling. It's not like anybody's doing anything. It's like, oh, that was pretty cool what he did to like counteract whatever. Really, his whole arc, you could say, is in a fight is just that willpower to push through. Like because basically his fight is just punch harder, right? It's like fight harder, fight harder. Like that's his strategy. Is I have to push through that, push through that. But yeah, that's I think what makes the fight special though is who he's facing and kind of like the surrounding circumstances. I think what makes this whole second half of this arc, this fight at Arlong Park special is the multiple things going on with relation to each other.
I mean, that's just One Piece in general, I think, and you'll see that more and more as the story goes on, is how all these things interweave and like how things together are more than the sum of their parts. Because I agree with you that there's no like individual like fight choreography thing that is like the best. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. I do think some of the fight choreography in
No,
Luffy versus Arlong is really, really
I was gonna
good,
say
but-
that too. That yeah, Luffy's fight with Arlong was pretty awesome. That was actually but we'll get to that later. I was just
So
thinking
last thing I wanna
Zoro's in
say-
particular.
So last thing I want to say about the Zoro fight, and maybe we're ready to move on, is I never noticed this before, but Hachi, his attack is like a twister attack. Like he creates like a little twister, and the attack that Zoro beats Hachi with is called Dragon Twister. And so it's almost like he mimics Hachi's own attack and beats him with it.
Ooh, do you think he knew that attack prior, or you think he just adapted Hachi's attack?
I'm not sure. And I don't know if he does Dragon Twister again. I can't think of that attack in particular being a thing, but I just thought that was a little interesting. I don't know if it means any, I wouldn't think it means anything, but I did think it was interesting.
I mean, I feel like that's most of One Piece, where you're like, oh, I don't think it means anything until chapter
300 chapters later.
and you're like, holy shit, Dragon Twister.
I mean, actually, one of the things I want to point out is something that's important and relevant in this latest chapter, which was chapter 1018. You can see the first inklings of in Arlong Park Arc. It's just like, yeah, I was like having just watched and read this arc and reading that new chapter, I was like, fuck, so good.
Damn,
So
he's
anyway,
a long con.
Even at the end of this arc, they even start doing that, but like we'll get to it when we get to it. So let's move on. You guys want to do
Sanji and Karubi.
Yeah, let's do Sanji and Karubi next. This was pretty, because this is the first time we really get to see Sanji like, you know, go toe to toe with somebody like formidable. Like, you know, while he's on the pirate crew. Right?
Yeah, because I mean, at this point too, all the fish people are like surpassing as far as power from anybody we've seen so far that the crew has gone up against. Yeah. Sanji's legs. They're the scariest thing I've ever seen. Sockless freak.
No, what I thought was really well. He's on a boat all day. If you get a little bit of water on those, like in the socks, it's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it's better
That's
not
why.
to.
That's the
Yeah, but what I mean, going to what we were talking about earlier, is that what makes this one interesting too is that so Zoro has to stall with his guy while Sanji has to go get Luffy rescued down on water. So it's like this
because Luffy got stuck once again. That's also what is this, like number 3 now so far? Luffy getting stuck, but
You're
yeah,
gonna lose
sorry, go ahead.
count by the end of this series, dude.
Yeah.
I hope so. That's 1,000 plus episodes. It's, but yeah, no, it's so I found that really interesting too, because it's that multiple points of action we were talking about, and Zoro's also aware of what Sanji's trying to do also. So, and it also, Sanji puts Sanji in a position where he's at a disadvantage because the fishmen are more powerful underwater.
Yeah. It is really cool to see them doing this dynamic between Sanji and Zoro, where they are communicating without even using words, but you also know their dynamic where they're like, they can't fucking stand each other. So it's cool because it gives them like this like extra layer of depth to their relationship.
Very much Cyclops and Wolverine that way, where they don't like each other, but when you get them in the room together, those are the guys, you know.
It's true.
I
also like his strategy of how he can get back to the surface as he breathes into the gills of Karubi.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
And that's like painful for him. Like I thought that was such an interesting. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I can see maybe it would be. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I still don't know if it's like a true fact that would injure a fish, but I imagine it wouldn't.
That's how the gills. That's how gills work. No, that's how gills work. but it is nice for the show. This.
It is cool to see Sanji, a man who smokes that much, can withstand the bends. Which, if any of you don't know what the bends is, it's if you dive or come up from underwater way too fast, going through different layers of water pressure, which is exactly what what's his face tries to do to Sanji. He like pile drives him. He's like, I'm surprised you withstood that. He's like, let's see if you can do it again. That's when he like goes to bring him up to like slam him back down again. Once again, just showing like like a portrayal of like how strong these guys really are.
I would say they're the very, very, very strongest.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. Well, I want to hear, Justin, what you got to say about Usopp, because I do love Usopp's fight.
Because you were down on Usopp at the introduction, and I'm glad to see you coming around, because that's what they do to you.
I said I hoped it would happen, and I'm glad it did, because Usopp is a man. His strategy is I'm gonna run away, and he's very fast. Like that's his initial strategy. And like, you know, it's kind of his thing, and it maybe would seem a little bit boring initially, but then you know, Usopp has to make a decision, like, you know, of how he's going to take out this guy who is clearly stronger than him. There's no way he could fight this guy one-on-one, but Usopp is if anything, he's a kind of a scrapper. Like, he can make like lemonade out of lemons. He set him up with, what did he initially hit him with, like in the eye?
Was it? Oh, it's Tabasco bomb. I
Oh
think.
yeah, that's it.
Oh no! Initially, what he does, which starts him running, I laughed so fucking hard at this, was the main dude that he's up against, the
Chew.
guy with the, is it? Jin,
Chew.
Chew.
The guy with the lips, right?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
is
Chew.
mid-sentence and he's like, "Hey, aren't you the townsfolk?" And then you just hear Usopp go, "Exploding star!" and shoots him in the face and starts running.
That's what I have written down. Yeah, exploding stars.
Exploding star!
Oh
Screams it.
gosh, it's so great. Usopp is so
Oh,
clearly the hero in his own story, and
yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, he's playing that so well. I love that. I love him hiding in the tree. I love how pissed off Jin, right? Or damn it, Jew.
Well, it's
No,
because he
Chew,
always
like
goes
CHU.
Okay, so yeah, so I love how pissed
I'm
off.
gonna get confused because he's always like, chip, chip.
Chip, chip.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the noise.
So he's hiding from, and Chu's just so mad. This is not the kind of like fight he wants. But again, it's the fight that Usopp is most clearly suited for. And I love him getting into the water and like blowing out like half the trees that Usopp could be hiding under. And I love his combo move, the freaking oil
Gasoline, right?
Yeah, the gasoline and the firebomb. That was such.
Oh, alcohol. That's what it was.
It was alcohol. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was either alcohol, gasoline, or like oil or some sort of oil. But yeah, no, that was such a cool freaking move. I do not know why he then slammed him into a pool of water. I would let his ass burn. But I do like that. And what caps it off for me, obviously, is that he's Usopp's hammer. And that's the best move that's the best move in One Piece. He just takes
the 7.
Yeah.
He does like the 7 Usopp hammers, and then he goes rubber band, and then Usopp hammer all over again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is you have to do the combo.
Oh yeah, or else
You
it
have
doesn't
to keep the
crit.
combo.
Yeah, you don't crit if you don't hit the combo. But
yeah, such a good fight.
And then he gets up again, and then Usopp just keeps hitting him. And I was like, that's how you really put someone down. Enough of this. They've fallen down anyway for them to get back up so they can fight. No, keep hitting his ass with the hammer till he's gone. Till he is not.
Well, that's how Usopp isn't gonna fuck around in a horror movie. Like that always happens in like a horror movie. Is they have Jason on the ground, and they're like, "Oh, it's Tommy from the last movie, but he's Jason now," and they just let him get up later. And it's like, no, just keep on wailing.
No, yeah.
I gotta say too, like when Usopp runs back and he's like, "Nami, I took him out. I did it." Like I genuinely got excited as if I was like watching one of my friends do something that I know was really hard for them to do. Like I was like so happy for him. Like, yeah, he did. He really did do it.
Yeah, no, that's what made it. That's why he's my very, very, very strongest character of the week. Because it is that, you know what, he did do it. Like it was something that I don't think anybody thought he'd be able to do, like in any conceivable way. And he
didn't even think he could do it.
He didn't even think he could do it, and he comes back and he puffs his chest out. And I was like, you know what, Usopp, you puff your fucking chest out. That's right, you did it. I love when he says, "Luffy, I got your back," when he's hiding behind that wall, and I'm like, it's so fucking cool. He'll scrap it up, but he's gonna stand back just in case.
Yeah, but he knows Luffy's got it.
Yeah, no. They only need that if they need the captain. The Usopp's obviously the captain. But yeah, that's why he made me just just crack up. I was just like, yeah, he is 100% redeemed. He's 100% on board with me as far as like being on the Straw Hats, being on the Straw Hat team, and like he can roll with these guys as far as I'm concerned. He's got my seal of approval. Certificate in the mail.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's a high honor.
Love him.
Yeah. So do we want to go? Do we want to talk a little bit about Nami coming back from the village? And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so let's do that right before the Luffy fight. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, okay, so actually two things before the Luffy fight, because we get Nami coming back
And she's wearing the straw hat.
and what I love is she chooses to like Arlong gives her the option. He's like, "Look, I'm gonna kill the Straw Hats right now, but if you stop fucking around, I'll spare the villagers and we can go back to the original plan." But she decides that she's gonna double down and just believe in Luffy. Um, and the villagers are all on board. And before we get Luffy versus Arlong, we have Zoro versus Arlong, which is actually probably my very, very, very favorite scene in the whole arc. Oh, okay. Actually, no, that's not true. That's my very, very, very favorite scene of these episodes because the Nami getting the straw hat is my favorite scene in the whole arc.
But so we get Zoro versus Arlong, and you get the portrayal for Arlong right away because he just blocks Zoro's attack with his nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, his nose is like so strong it can take an attack. I think he takes an attack from Wado Ichimoji,
Yeah.
like his like big sword. So this scene that gets me every time, though, I'm like always excited for this scene every time I watch this arc, is when Arlong's got Zoro down, he picks him up, and he's like, "What's all these bandages?" And I can't remember what Zoro says. He has some smart ass response. So Arlong rips the bandages off, and they play that great like One Piece thing where it's like the broken piano keys.
Where
it's,
they
like,
go into
shows
his
you this,
head.
like,
Yeah.
horrific-
Basically, if it was a comic, it would be the bubbles like over his head.
Yeah, he has the inner monologue, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like looking at Zoro's wound from Mihawk, and it's like put together with staples, and it's still bleeding. And he looks at Zoro, and Zoro's like looking at him like down his nose because he's like got his neck like in the chokehold. It's like looking at him, and he's like grinning and like smiling at him. And
Scariest
Arlong
shit
thinks
ever.
to himself, yeah. And Arlong says, like, how can he be alive with a body like this? And he looks at him in the face, and Zoro's got that grin, and he's like, is that the face of a man who's dying? And he decides, like, I have to kill him right now.
Yeah,
Like,
I have to kill him now.
which is also like the I love this like shift in portrayal. Like they like volleyball back and forth. Like first it's like, oh, Arlong can take a hit to the face from Zoro's attack and just no sell it. Like it's fine. But then as soon as he sees like how durable Zoro is to be having been fighting this whole time with this wound and see that Zoro's like happy about it. He's like, this is fucked. And so it like bounces the ball right back in Zoro's court where like, no, Zoro is actually the dangerous one. And like, this is fucked. I love that. Like, that's such an interesting moment.
It's like
that's a.
Mhm.
No, go for it.
It's almost like he's a wounded shark, like where it's you need to like he says I need to kill him now. Like he knows that he's going to be able to he could kill him, but he's like I need to not fuck around. I need to kill him right now, because it's what you were talking about. It's like I am not caught this guy on his best day. Kill him, get it over with. I don't want to talk to this. I don't want to see this guy again. I don't want to know what he's at
You
full
sure as
power.
fuck don't.
Yeah. So, and which is smart because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Shoot him.
Shoot him in the head.
So then we get the start of Luffy versus Arlong, and what I love is
really quick.
Yeah, so
before that, when Nami comes in, I do love the line where she says, she tells the villagers to die with her. I thought that was a pretty dope line. She goes, because that's how she makes her decision. She says, "Will you die with me?" Like and they're all like, "Fuck it," even though they don't go running to fight, but
Yeah, they're like, yeah, let's do it. I guess I'll die.
Yeah, no,
I guess I'll know.
let's go to that. Let's go to that Luffy fight now.
So the way this starts off is Luffy jumps right out Arlong and hits him with the Gum Gum Bell, which and like combos that up with basically all the attacks that he uses at Arlong right away are the attacks that we saw beat the big villains from the last arcs. Like Gum Gum Bell beat Captain Kuro.
I can't remember what attack beats Don Krieg. I think it's either a Gum Gum pistol or a Gum Gum Gatling or something like that. Like, but he goes through like the whole list of all the attacks that we've seen beat these other
main villains, and Arlong looks clean at the end of all of them. Like, you know, he takes like some damage and gets hit, but like not in a way that he's like, you know, can't continue to fight. Like we see him tank all these hits basically.
Yeah,
did he end up tanking the Gum Gum pinwheel?
well, that's what he uses next.
Oh.
That's like because he talked earlier about when he saw the Jensen. He said like, "Oh, I have a new idea for a new move," and that's when we see
Well,
the.
that isn't Gum Gum Pinwheel how he got stuck in. I'm pretty sure that's how he got stuck in the first place, right? As he did Gum Gum Pinwheel.
Oh, I think you're right.
moment.
You're right.
You're right. You're right.
So yeah, it's at the very beginning of the fight, he uses that, and that's what actually gets him in trouble.
Yeah. So
so-
when Arlong no sells any of these hits, we get straight into when Arlong starts taking out his teeth.
Well, no, that's he first demonstrates how strong his teeth are, because Arlong
By chomping through the pillars.
Yeah, Arlong goes on about how much superior the fishmen are to people, which he says I think maybe a little bit too much. That would probably be my only criticism of the fight. Is, like, you know, he's so like, you know, fishmen superior, even though he just saw.
Well, I
Mhm.
will just say that means something later.
Okay.
Well after this arc, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, I agree that it's said a little too much, but it's setting up
Something that I think is important for later.
Yeah, I mean, just if it was just one less, like, or one or two times less, we talked
Yeah.
about it. But either way, he bites through the pillar, and everybody's super shocked. I don't. If I was Johnny, I would not be as surprised as he is in this show every single time anything happens. He acts like the freaking, like he saw an alien every single time some new move comes. Oh my god! Like it's I feel like it's like, okay, buddy, it's don't be so shocked anymore.
You know,
So we get the great line from Luffy where Arlong's like, what can you do? And Luffy's like, I can't
I can't use
I
a
can't
sword.
use a sword. I can't navigate. I can't cook. I can't lie. And Usopp's like, hey.
This is also my Tinder bio. I can't cook. I'm a liar. I need help.
And
But yeah,
and
he's like,
so
"What can
Arlong-
you do?"
Yeah.
Luffy he says, "I can beat you," which is just like,
I can kick your ass.
Yeah. It's just like, hell yeah.
That's right, you can, Luffy. Fucking boss. He breaks the. Did he break another pillar, or did he finish off the pillar that the Arlong started? And he said there are more than one way to break rocks. Like, you know,
Yeah,
he comes back at
that's
him
right.
with that, and you know, that was pretty. I think that was pretty boss.
Definitely boss move.
Followed up by, so Luffy knowing, like, basically Arlong's big move is with his teeth. That's like his, I guess, at least the beginning of the fight. That's like his signature thing is he's gonna bite Luffy and like, you know, bite right through him, basically, because that's the big threat. So I love Luffy's idea of taking some of the swords and sticking them in Arlong's mouth, and then when he bites down, the, like, you know, his teeth cracked, which started me having to stop the episode and take a long break because the next part of the fight was probably the most nauseating fight I've seen in anime. Like, period.
Really?
Why is that?
Oh, 'cause he keeps taking his teeth out and teeth falling out.
Oh, you weren't into that?
I was not. I was like every single time. And
You don't have those dreams where all your teeth fall
no,
out?
that's exactly what I have all the time. Is those dreams my teeth fall out, and
Fix that with food poisoning, and
Yeah.
you got yourself a beautiful recipe.
yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. And then he keeps doing it, Bill. He keeps reminding you specifically, Bill. He keeps doing it, Bill. I wanted it to stop so much. But it's such a cool move. Like to use them like dentures, like into chomp chomp chomp. That I was really I was really like enjoying it, but struggling through that portion of the fight. I love. Oh my gosh! And then I double gagged when Luffy had his teeth in his mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Coronavirus.
I was like, oh my gosh!
Israel,
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not
Oh.
gonna make it.
you sets of chompers, man.
Gosh, it's a pretty funny gag though. Like, I'm not gonna sweat Luffy for it.
Well, then we got that Arlong has his own sword, the shark saw, which
I think it's pretty sweet.
It's
like the
it's
way
fucking
the way it
awesome.
is big saw, but it's like narrow, so it's like a sword almost.
Mhm.
And then takes them up into Nami's room, and that's where this arc gets
Emotional as fuck again. And
uh they go in there and there's like blood on the pens from like how long Arlong's been having her work on these like day in and day out on these maps and everything.
Mhm.
And Luffy gets so mad that he just like he breaks the shark saw with his own grip, like in his hands he breaks the blade, and Arlong can't swing it. And when he eventually like gets the blade free and starts swinging, he misses and cuts a big stack of the maps. And so Luffy's basically got him in this perfect spot where Arlong can't really counterattack without destroying something that he doesn't want to destroy.
And to talk a little bit about how I appreciate Arlong's management style, Arlong has a very Steve Jobs managing style where he is not the big brain in the room, right? But you can't pull bullshit on him. When Nami tries to make fake maps, Arlong can recognize it. You know why? Good manager. They very good manager. it's
Now
yeah,
make me
this-
an iPod.
Now make me an iPod. No, this doesn't work. I can tell you why it doesn't work. I know this isn't good. Do it again. Like he knows quality when he sees it.
I'm glad you can find
So
a
I do
silver
appreciate
lining.
that. Not Arlong, not bad guy. All things considered.
You're not that guy, bud. Trust me, you're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
So the sequence of events here happens like really snappy. It's like
Luffy just starts destroying the room and like he boots the desk out of the room and Nami sees that falling out.
and then Arlong bites his neck. Luffy breaks Arlong's nose. And he has this line. He's like, where he's talking about Nami. And he's like, she can't be free because this room is here, and that's why he starts just fucking up the whole room. And this is where you get this is like one of the first really heavy final attacks to me in One Piece, which is also why I love the Arlong Park arc. It's like one of the first ones that has like a really like impactful final hit where Arlong like goes in to bite Luffy again, and Luffy does the gum gum axe where he puts his like it's like an axe kick where he like puts his foot way up, like boots it out of the roof, and then stomps Arlong through every single floor of Arlong Park like a Mortal Kombat finisher or something.
No,
Yeah, it's pretty
it is-
intense. It ends up taking the whole building down.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like basically his life's work. That's what his ambition was to be able to basically rule all the seas based on Nami's charts. That was going to be his ace in the hole, and now he can't do it. So
And it's even like the cherry on top too is like Nami watching, and she kind of just whispers to herself, "Thank you." I'm like, oh, the pain. It's real.
Oh yeah, I always cry at this scene.
That's
Yeah, they
beautiful,
could have
though.
taken
That's
them
like,
if they're going to the
Nami
Grand Line
also,
too. They are going there. So
yeah, they could have taken the mask, but you know what? It's all in Nami's head. She's already, she's the most pirate out of all of them. You've already said it before. She's been a pirate for like 8 years at this point. I think they're going to be good having her as the navigator.
yeah, you're right.
Don't need no map to know how to rock.
But yeah, no, that's an awesome. Bill, you're right. That is an awesome finisher. The him just going straight through the whole building, and I mean that's pretty much all she wrote about as far as Arlong goes. Is he is down, and Luffy by
yeah, it's
KO,
a full
right?
KO. There's no getting up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah,
what's his name? The little squirrel man shows up, which,
Cheap, cheap.
oh man, I was so fucking happy to just see everyone beat his ass.
oh, they just whooped his.
he had it coming.
And the way he bitches out too is so good. Yeah, whatever you want, whatever you want. That was so good.
So satisfying.
And then it's like, and then this was like my first, because I actually watched the last 2 episodes, before or today, but I love when that episode ends. We got Squirrel Man of Branch 16, Best Branch 16, and he is the one to put the request for a bounty on Luffy's head. And just
Yeah.
like at our last stopping point of episodes, that one got me so hyped. It's like Luffy is in the big leagues. You are not playing pirate anymore. You are a real fucking pirate.
Yeah, with a super high bounty too.
Yeah.
What is it? 30 million berries.
30 million, man. It was so.
It's a lot of berries.
It's a lot of berries, man.
Oh, honestly,
Well,
because
one
like
thing
it
that I always
surpasses.
forget about his bounty poster, I actually didn't ever think about it until we watched this arc recently, is, you see that bounty poster, and, obviously, as you would expect, his bounty goes up throughout the series. His notoriety goes up. And it's always funny that, like, Usopp's in the corner, but I always forget that the background is Arlong Park in rubble. That's the background of Luffy's iconic wanted poster. I never think about that, but, like, I was like, oh damn, that's like
Makes
a
sense.
cool little Easter egg that I never thought about.
Yeah, no, it's that is pretty awesome. Love the picture of Luffy. It's like the most accurate It's I like what he says, like, he couldn't have gotten a better picture, and I was like, no, he could not have gotten a better picture. That is a perfect picture of Luffy.
Yeah, that's like
So
sums
happy.
up Luffy's character so perfectly.
Exactly. Even if it's not, it may not be like, but you will see within meeting Luffy within 3 minutes, you will see Luffy do that. So yeah, I love that picture, and I just love how that cliffhanger of an episode, or to the end of that episode, I was just like, that's so freaking cool. But then
And
Mhm.
no, and then the
Party.
Yeah, then it's fucking party time, guys.
that's party.
We-
Yeah,
This is always like a fun little One Piece thing at the end of certain arcs. There's a big party.
I couldn't find the raw rum ham, or not the rum
Yeah.
ham. I can't find the ham
Raw
melon.
man.
Rum ham.
Yeah, the ham melon.
Well, I like that we get the kid who was like basically the first, I think the first human that we see on Arlong Park, the little kid who confronts Nami in the very beginning of the arc, and the one who his dad was killed, and he's sitting there talking to Nojiko, and he's like, the guy who beat Arlong must be really cool, and then it immediately pans to Luffy choking on like
On a plate.
all the food.
Was it a plate or a bone? Because I think,
Yeah, I don't even remember, but yeah, he's like choking down some food.
yeah, it's hard to believe. But
No, it's great, and like, I love too that Oda ends up getting in like 2 more moments to make me like my heart fucking melt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
where Nami's talking to essentially the ghost of Bellamere, whether it's in her head or whatever you want to have it. But she's talking to her about like how finally free and that she might set off and all this stuff, and like she's going out the front door and you get the ghost push that's kind of just like the little nudge out of the village.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it hurts so much. But like I love that Oda could follow that up with Luffy looking for a raw ham melon but still having two handfuls of meat and coming across a a Genzo, Jesus, at the grave, and he's like, "My deepest conveniences. I mean, my
That was
deepest
so funny.
compliments.
My
My
deepest
deepest." He's like,
compliment.
"Oh, so good."
Oh gosh, no, that was pretty. This because it's again, Luffy, such a good guy. He is genuinely a cool dude, and he is trying uh to say the correct thing, and he just can't help but just
Yeah,
make a complete
fuck
ass out
it
of
up.
himself.
Listen, you know what I thought about when we were first getting into this arc too?
Hmm.
I'm like, I think Justin's really gonna like the backstory to the pinwheel in the hat. How'd you feel?
The backstory of the pinwheel in the hat.
Yeah, like
I
why he has it on the hat.
sometimes okay, so there's two minds. I like it, right? Like it basically it caps up like his relationship to Nami, as if Bellamere was her mother, like Jensen would have been like closest thing she had to a father, right? Um, but sometimes I feel stories like it's too nice of a bow on it, like of
Yeah?
I think just a little bit too tight.
Too sweet for you.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. You know, uh, and if they didn't have the flashback, and maybe if he just said it, I would have felt the same way. I would have liked it a little bit more. But you should always show don't tell. And it makes sense that they did another flashback to like them getting him getting the pinwheel. Um, but
Just goes
yeah,
with
no,
her
I
Nami's new tattoo, The two
it,
symbols
that
Well,
to
that's the one that always gets me is
that is actually what I ended up, and that's what made me come back. So at the time I was like, kind of really putting a nice tight little pretty bow on it, and then when you see her tattoo, the fact that it's reciprocated, like she recognizes it from her time there, made me come back around to really really like that.
well, the other thing about the tattoo is you realize that the reason that Nojiko even has tattoos is she got him to make Nami feel better about getting the Arlong tattoo,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which
Because I mean,
is just
even
so
in just Japanese culture, like having a tattoo is, especially one that's like that visible, very frowned upon. So that is a cool support sign to see from Nami's sister.
Yeah, no, that's there. They sis, you must sis.
You my sis, big sis.
No, that's,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Nami's goodbye exit, which actually I was thinking about while I was watching the arc. I was like, so if Nami's whole motivation for her whole character up until this part of the show was about being a thief and wanting that gold and everything like that. It's really cool how they reaffirm that she's not changing that much. Like that was the reason.
yeah.
She still wants that gold, baby. She still wants it. uh, so I do like how her exiting and you see this big like emotional thing, and then you found out she stole their wallets was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid turnaround.
Yeah,
You got to have one of the pirates on the crew care about treasure, you know?
exactly. Else you go broke. You know, can't we can't all be creatives. Some of us have to be the business person. Someone has to be CFO.
Well, you also get at the end of this, you get two last little things to wrap up these episodes. You get everyone around the East Blue reacting to Luffy's wanted poster.
Yes, that's the what I was talking about earlier when you were saying like they're bringing it back. I was like, yeah, they do a really good job of even that's like everybody in the East Blue. They bring everybody back. Like if this ended like the show, or if like that was the last part of One Piece, like it could have had a nice little coda ending there. But even though it's not, it's still a nice little catch up with everybody and I mean everyone. So Bill, do you have like a run through of every single person we get to see? And you want to save the best one for last?
All right. Well, we see Syrup Village with Kaya and Mary. We see Kobe and Helmeppo. We see Captain Kuro. He's back on the water. So I kind of like that because Luffy almost made him become a pirate again.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, sure.
How did we leave off with Kuro? I forgot. I thought he was
just beat his ass for wanting to get rid of his name.
Okay, so he just walked away?
Yeah, so like essentially what Bill is saying is like essentially slap some shit into him. He's like, become a pirate again, or else,
Okay.
fucked.
That's
for lack of better words.
All right.
We see Baratier, and I love that we see that Sanji is super jealous of not being in the wanted poster.
That was very funny.
Usopp in the wanted poster.
Yeah.
I think this might be the first time that we get to see the news coups, which are the little seagull guys that drop the. I love those. I love the news coups.
They were awesome. I was like, well, this is my new favorite part of the show. Like, this is my new favorite part of One Piece. And Nami arguing over the money. He's like, man, you guys gone up in price. What do you, and the bird is basically like, without saying anything, this basically, hey, I'm just delivering the news. Like, these are the prices. Yeah. Why are you arguing with me?
I'll shoot the messenger. We even get Lieutenant Fullbody.
Yes.
Who has lost his rank, and he's in jail, right? He's
No, he has a.
Or no. I'm thinking of
the jaw guy,
Morgan. But Fullbody, Fullbody's on a busted ass boat. He's lost his rank.
Oh yeah, he's
not drinking any wine anymore.
Yeah, he's all beat up. He's like, I don't have anything. I don't have, and he's the only one. He sees it as like such an opportunity. He's like, oh, I could beat that guy.
I just got why he drinks wine all the time, and his last name is Fullbody.
Yes.
Duh.
But before we do that, I want to talk about because we all know my favorite thing is secret organizations. We get to see the whole Navy.
Yeah.
The head of Navy, like all the freaking I guess admirals or whatever, they're all sitting there.
No, I thought this was interesting because these are not the actual bigwigs. I think this is the Navy specifically for the East Blue.
Oh yes, okay. So
this is not the Grand Line like World Navy, because I was looking, I was like, we don't really see a lot of these guys again. Like looking through who was there, and I was like, oh, this must be specifically for the East Blue, which makes sense because that's who the little mouse guy from the Navy would have been.
His branch,
reporting. Yeah, is like his branch man, which would be the East Blue, like head of the Navy. But yeah, the dudes look pretty. I do like the character designs in that scene.
Yeah, so when you were talking about the political in Attack on Titan, the political intrigue and stuff like that, I was like, oh man, they could have done a whole episode with these Navy guys arguing about how much bounty to put on Luffy, and I would have been in the whole time.
So the political stuff in the One Piece world is so sick.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get more into that.
I just wanted to shut them out.
Then you know what the real cherry on top is here, though.
To do it, Bill.
We get Hawkeye Mihawk. He's sailing the sea on his little boat, his little yoga mat sized boat. You know what he's doing.
First hype moment.
Who's he gonna see? Who of all the people in the sea, who does Mihawk got to go hang out with and talk to?
I get chills.
Axe Hand Morgan. Wait.
Red hair Shanks, baby. Red hair Shanks.
Guys,
1 arm, 3 scars.
guys, every episode, or at least every arc since like we first see Shanks, I am hoping for another Shanks scene, and I continuously get like, you know, it's he's not in this one, he's not in this one. Okay, so that I thought that maybe it's not him, it's not him, it's not him. It's something else. Okay. The reference to him, but he's not in it, and that I did not see him come. Like all of a sudden, like, you know, they talked about
Exactly. It's how he does it. Oh, he just fucking gets you.
and then he's there, and you're like, man, fucking Shanks, let's just hang out on this beach.
Well, it's even cooler too, is you find out they're like essentially they used to be friends, or at least they have a history together too.
They're acquaintances.
Yeah. Well, Shanks is like, you're there.
Acquaintances, hold on, because yeah, what Lou's saying is that they were there to fight, or like that Shanks thought Mihawk was there for a fight. But if you remember, like, this is actually Shanks is actually one of Mihawk's like sparring buddies, basically, like, which gives Shanks portrayal, like the fact that they used to like spar and fight, like do sword fights, gives Shanks a lot of portrayal as a sword fighter, basically, like that he could go toe to toe with Mihawk.
Yeah, no, and I think
Mihawk even makes the comment about
I,
like him having like the 1 arm, but I don't think it even matters. I think Shanks would still be a fucking menace to society.
oh, you know, Shanks always menace to society.
Shanks needs no arms. He doesn't need no arms. He can go straight
He
for
could
it.
do the one. He could do the one sword technique with his mouth. Only the mouth part, though.
Yeah, 1 sword, teeth style.
One sword
Tooth style.
with the badass cape. Gosh, this is so hot. He wears that cape and he's so cool.
Yeah, and then the throw party for Luffy, which is like I thought that was so wholesome that, you know, him and Hawkeye, they like share a drink together and everybody starts partying. Like they're just so happy that.
Also, you get the kind of partier that Shanks is, because he partied last night and he has a hangover, and the whole crew is like, Shanks, I thought you said no more drinks. And he's like, no, drink, and he's in Mihawk's face. He's like, that's it, drink it up.
Oh, Shanks is so cool.
He is.
He's like Leahy right now. He's like
he's so high for Luffy. He's so high.
Drink it down.
He's so high for his buddy. It's that he's got the hangover. He wants nothing to do with anything. And then, really quick, what is so why did Hawkeye take the trip to show Shanks the Luffy one poster? Why did he if he hadn't seen him in such a long time, what made him want to go do that?
Well, he says he's like, oh, I remember the stories you used to tell me about this kid from this village in the East Blue.
Oh, okay. So I didn't catch that part. All right. So yeah. All right. That makes sense now. So yeah,
Yeah, it also shows that it also further cements that they have a history together, like that they used to hang out enough for him to tell, you know, for Mihawk to know stories about Luffy.
Exactly. Okay. So that tracks. So yeah, when Hawkeye Mihawk goes, he's like, oh, this guy. That's Shanks used to talk about this kid. And then he goes,
Also,
he brings
I beat
it
a
to Shanks. Yeah. And then Shanks goes and he goes, you did it. Like, you know, you're finally what does he say exactly? It's like, you're finally here, or something along those lines.
You're finally on your way or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's ready to meet him in the New World, or meet him in the Grand Line.
Yeah, no, and I was so you can, again, it's one of those things where Lou was talking about how Usopp he felt like the way Nami felt when saw Usopp again. You're like shocked and like so hyped for your friend. The same way I felt like, you know, for Shanks to see his buddy. He's like, oh man, he did it! I can't wait to see him again. Like, you know, and it got me real hyped. I was like, oh man, I can't wait till they see each other again. It's It was great. I
Can't wait
was
to find out Shanks's bounty.
in
Oh my god.
Infinity.
You're not ready.
You're not,
You're not fucking
ready.
ready, dude.
Oh man,
Do you remember that video that I showed you where the guy picks up his table and throws it across the room while he's reacting to a One Piece video? That's an episode where we get Shank's bounty reveal.
Damn.
and
The
Yeah,
guy throwing
you're
a
not
table
ready.
too. Yeah.
and without spoilers, do they mention why Shanks is like on like hanging out on this island?
Not well, Shanks is just there for that time. Like
To
we see
chill?
Shanks
Okay.
in a bunch of different places. So Shanks is a pirate, man. He's all over. And that's also one of the things that is really fun about this series is when a character shows up seemingly out of nowhere, it's like they're traveling around the world on their own mission. So that, on their own like journeys. And so it makes sense for some of these characters to run into each other on the ocean. You know what I mean? It's
It
like
does make sense for Mihawk to be out on it because he's got his little boat. I get that. And the only exception, I guess, would be Arlong, who stayed on the same island for 8 years. But besides that, yeah, that was and actually I was thinking of that earlier. I was like, man, for Arlong being a pirate, you don't get to see him do much pirate stuff. Like you don't get to see him on the seas. He's basically on
I mean, he said
land the whole time.
yeah, but I mean, he's had an operation going.
No,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, he's like again, big business. He's management. He's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his
Good job.
Yeah, exactly. But
we do learn more about Arlong and his background later in the series.
That's
though.
good. Because I'd like to see more of Arlong. But man, ending it with Shanks, you got me again, Bill. You pick really good ending points for these arcs because Shanks is like that was such a cherry on top. And I told my wife, like, she's like, oh, you gotta Jacob's in the pool, do you want to switch, go eat, are you done with the episode? I was like, oh no, it's almost over, babe, but don't worry, Shanks came back. And she's like, I don't know who that
is. You will.
I want to have my Shanks tattoo, you'll know.
I got my Shanks tattoo and I wear my straw hat. But yeah, no, that pretty much wraps it up. Oh, do we want to mention Cody as janitor in Navy? Colby, yeah.
Colby and Helmeppo. Helmeppo's like,
oh, that was Helmeppo?
Helmeppo, I like, he's got a real job now. Yeah, the hair.
Oh, kidding. I didn't recognize him.
It's because he was busy working.
Yeah,
he's a working man.
Because now he doesn't have his uniform. His dad's locked up
in the Navy. Yeah.
So Helmeppo is just working, like, he's got a job, but Axan Morgan is in jail. Axan Morgan should be in jail. But Helmeppo is a war criminal in all senses of the word. I like seeing Colby again. This is next time we might be enemies.
No, it do be like that. Yeah. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a Luffy Kobe fight.
We see Colby again. He's all beat up and just looking hot.
A lot of things y'all are wishing for. You think Oda's gonna do dirty?
No. I hope not. With 1,000 episodes, you could put like
a lot of the wishes y'all have made during this episode.
That's it may not come true. Who knows?
Tune in next week,
which actually brings us to. So Bill, what do we got next?
So the next episodes that we're going to be covering of the anime are going to be episodes 46 to 53. This is going to be the Logtown arc, and there's also some other stuff at the beginning, which I won't spoil because
there's some good stuff here.
It'll be fun.
Okay. So again, guys, that is episodes 46 to 53. So there's no a clean arc, but we're going to be covering just a nice chunk of episodes. As of, today, again, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Pocket Cast, every single place that you can download a podcast. We are there. We are officially on Instagram and Twitter at The Strongest Pod on Twitter and the Instagram. So go do that, guys. Go do that.
Meet us there.
New episodes will be posted there every Friday, if I remember to do it. And that's I like, share, subscribe if you like this sort of thing. Your friends listen to podcasts, or you guys. I was just talking to my the cousin today about One Piece. He says I can't do it. It's that like 1,000 episodes, and I was like, well. You know what? I got a solution for you. And he just showed him the podcast, downloaded it on his phone, and now there's your intro. That's how you get them into the show. But
Wise words. Wise words.
yeah, the wise words. But you know what are more wise words? More definitively wise words. A great man Bill Ellis once said, when Shanks says no. See you guys next week.